House will come to order. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce that the Senate accedes to the request of the House for the appointment of a conference committee on the amendments adopted by the Senate to the following House file. House File Number 961, an act relating to labor. The Senate has appointed as such committee Senators Howe, Duckworth, and Dietzick. Message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments the concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3765, an act relating to natural resources. Hanson R. moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3765, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members of the House, and that the House requests that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
I recognize the author of the motion, the member from Dakota, Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do move to refuse to concur to the Senate amendments. They made a lot of them, and that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members.
All those in favor of the Hanson motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments the concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3805, an act relating to public safety. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Nash moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3805 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the author of the motion, the member from Carver, Representative Nash, who will explain the Senate amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the Committee on Capital Area Security, and the people who voted no because they wanted to have an actual sunset reinserted. You got your wish. The Senate put that in, and just for the sake of simplicity, I have agreed. It pushes it out 14 years, so we will, if any of us are still here, we'll tackle that again later. But this is a good provision, and it will continue the good work of the Capital Area Security Advisory. And once again, thank you to my co-author, Representative Winkler.
Any further discussion to the Senate amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to concur with the Senate amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its 3rd reading as amended by the Senate.
3rd reading, House File Number 3805, as amended by the Senate.
3rd reading as amended by the Senate. Any further discussion? There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members who are voting remotely, please vote. Would the clerk please call the names of members who have not yet voted?
Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, aye. Freiberg.
Freiberg, aye.
Freiberg, aye. Gomez.
Gomez, aye.
Gomez, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Herr. Herr. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Creshaw.
Creshaw, aye.
Creshaw, aye. Lucero.
Lucero, yes.
Lucero, aye. Markwart. Markwart. McDonald. McDonald. Miller. Miller. Munson. Munson. Nelson N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson N. I. Noor.
Noor, aye.
Noor I. Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto I. Schumacher. Schumacher.
Schumacher, aye.
Schumacher I. Thompson. Thompson. Zhang Jie.
Jones, aye.
Zhang Jie I. Her. Her. Markwart. Markwart. McDonald. McDonald. Miller. Miller. Munson. Munson. Thompson. Did we get it?
Thompson, present.
Thompson, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 126 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate files herewith transmitted. Senate file numbers 908 and 2678 and 4082. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate.
First reading of Senate bills.
First reading, Senate File Number 908, an act relating to state lands. Torkelson moves that Senate File Number 908 and House File Number 2162, now on the General Register, be referred to the Chief Clerk for comparison.
Without objection, so ordered.
First reading, Senate File Number 2678, an act relating to health occupations. Morrison moved that Senate File Number 2678 and House File Number 2768, now on the General Register, be referred to the Chief Clerk for comparison.
Without objection, so ordered.
First reading, Senate File Number 4082, an act relating to energy. The bill is being referred to the Committee on Climate and Energy, Finance, and Policy.
Reports from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Winkler from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bills to be placed on the calendar for the day for Friday, May 20th, 2022, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bills. Senate File Numbers 3107, 3338, 4108, and 3503.
Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3255. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 3255, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Anoka, Representative Stephenson, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is the Department of Commerce technical bill. It makes a number of changes to statute that are largely flying below the radar, involving changing out the Secretary of State with the Commissioner of Commerce for the purposes of receiving and recording some filings, updating some references, eliminating a reference to the Register of Franchises, and changing some report dates. It also updates the term husband and wife to married couple to reflect, of course, the fact that we have marriage equality in the country. So important to change that reference to married couple. This is a good bill, and I encourage members' support for it.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Stephenson moves to amend House File Number 3255. The amendment is coded A1.
I recognize the author of the amendment, the member from Anoka, Representative Stephenson.
This is a technical amendment to a technical bill adding effective dates. I ask for your support.
Any further discussion to the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3255, as amended.
Third reading as amended. Discussion to the bill. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members who are voting remotely, please vote. Will the clerk please call the names of members who have not yet voted?
Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, aye. Frederick. Frederick. Freiberg.
Freiberg, aye.
Freiberg, aye. Gomez.
Gomez, aye.
Gomez, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, no.
Gruenhagen, no. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Lilly. Lilly, aye. Markwart. Markwart. Miller. Miller. Munson. Munson. Nelson N.
Munson, aye.
Nelson N. I. Noor.
Nor, aye.
Noor I. Pinto. Pinto I. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson I. Zhang Jie.
Zhang Jie, aye.
Zhang Jie I. Frederick. Frederick I. Markwart. Markwart. Miller. Miller. Munson.
Munson, no.
Munson, no.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 99 ayes and 29 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3400. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3400, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to business organizations.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Ramsey, Representative Hollins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, House members. This legislation came out of a work group that was formed several years ago that included many stakeholders like UCC attorneys, the business community, the AG's office, and the Office of Minnesota Secretary of State. As most of you know, citizens may file liens with the Secretary of State's office. Most of these filings are legitimate, but some are not. This bill would allow the Secretary of State's office to set aside bogus, harassing, and retaliatory liens that are filed with the office. I'd like to note that many of these liens are filed against public officials, correctional officers, law enforcement, and judges. The bill gives the Office of Secretary of State discretion to reject clearly fraudulent business filings. And if someone believes their filing was improperly rejected, there is an appeals process that is outlined in the provision. It's a pre-filing remedy that exists in at least 24 states. And this policy would protect against harassment while also ensuring that there's a clear process for citizens to file their grievances. It's a thoughtful and logical solution that will save the state time and money. I hope you can support it.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3400.
Third reading. Any further discussion to the bill? I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Ramsey, Representative Hollins.
I really don't have anything else to say. I hope that you can vote green. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. Members who are voting remotely, please vote. Will the clerk please call the names of members who have not yet voted?
Albright. Albright, aye. Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Frederick. Frederick, aye. Gomez.
Gomez, aye.
Gomez, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, no.
Gruenhagen, no. Hamilton.
Hamilton, I.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Katiza Watun.
Katiza Watun, aye.
Katiza Watun, aye. Markwart. Markwart. Munson.
Munson, no.
Munson, no. Noor.
Noor, aye.
Noor, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, yes.
Thompson, aye. Zhang Jie.
Aye.
Zhang Jie, aye. Markwart. Markwart.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 114 ayes and 14 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3288. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 3288, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce, the first engrossment.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from LeSueur, Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So 3288 pertains to Chapter 45 that pertains to Minnesota's regulated industries such as real estate, appraisal, and insurance, and the continuing education that goes along with that. So several years ago, when I took my insurance class, went to and got my license, went to a class, did that in person. At the end of that, instructor gave me a test, and I got my license. But of course, in the last few years, we've all changed our method and delivery of education from just a live course to online and Zoom. And so we're changing a couple definitions here to provide for that. Previously, we talked about classroom courses in the chapter, and we're going to change that live course to a live course, which means anybody that's instructing in front of a class or instructing via Zoom. And then secondly, we had defined it as a self-study course, and we are now going to define that as an on-demand course. And so an on-demand course, you can be taken at any time. For example, if you have 2 to 8 hours on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon to spare, you could have jumped on, taken a course, so it's there, it's available at the time that the student is able to take it. And that can include online courses, text-based courses, and pre-recorded videos. So along with this, the instructor isn't there to proctor the test. So we defined who can be a proctor for that and what their, who can or cannot be a proctor and what the requirements are. And then we also went as far as to have educational providers and the approval of those and their responsibilities. So, Mr. Chair, that is the bill, and I ask for a green vote.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 3288.
Third reading. Any further discussion to the bill? I recognize the member from Washington, Representative Jurgens.
Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering if the bill author would yield for a question.
He will yield, Representative Jurgens.
Representative Pfarr, thanks for bringing this bill forward. I wonder, thank you for the explanation, but I'm wondering if you could just provide some more details on how specifically this will grow government.
Representative Pfarr.
Thank you for the question, Representative Jurgens. I don't believe that will it will grow government.
Representative Jurgens. I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Lilly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative, thank you for your work on this. I've been lucky enough to serve on Commerce for a few years, and one of the things on these sort of things with this educational training, I always look to one of your teammates as a source. I was wondering if Representative Davids has any comments on this or would be willing to yield to a question.
Representative Davids, will you yield to a question? It appears that Representative Davids is unfortunately unavailable. Representative Lilly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope that Representative Davids has extensive additional Saturday schools, and that'd be part of the expectation on this, I hope.
Any further discussion? I recognize the member from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm wondering if the author of the bill would yield for a few questions.
He will yield for a series of questions, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Pfarr, on page 3, line 3.12, I'm wondering if you could explain what "at all times" means.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from LeSueur, Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Albright, 3.12.
Representative Albright.
Yes, even with glasses, I can clearly see, Representative Pfarr, that is line 3.12.
Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And what is your question, Representative Albright?
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Pfarr, on line 3.12, you refer to, in the new language, "at all times." I'm wondering if you could explain what that means in the context of your bill.
Representative Pfarr.
Representative Albright, I don't think you have the current bill language in front of you.
Representative Albright.
Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering if you could remind the author of the bill that on page 3, line 12, it says "at all times."
Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Albright. So that means always.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, Representative Pfarr, thank you for that answer. I want to direct your attention to page 2 now. And I'm looking at the section 3. Where it says on line 2.13, with respect to, I'm wondering if you could give an explanation to what it means to be in respect to.
Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So line 2.13, other conflicts of interest with respect to the student's successful completion. So in regards to, Representative Albright?
Representative Albright.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Pfarr, I'll take that as a yes. My final question, Mr. Speaker, is for the author of the bill, and it has to do the appendix. If we could journey to definitions under 45.25, subdivision 14 under self-study course. I wonder if there would be a proctor involved with a video classroom discussion.
Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Albright, if you look at the rest of the bill, it defines how to proctor a self-study course, so there wouldn't be necessarily the instructor proctoring that, but it does define who the proctors can be or cannot be, such as cannot be a relative, cannot be somebody that's in the class with you, cannot be a workmate. So I hope that answers your question, Representative Albright.
Representative Albright.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Pfarr, thank you. This is a fine piece of legislation, and I would urge everyone to vote yes.
I recognize the member from Douglas, Representative Franzen.
Mr. Speaker and members, would Representative Pfarr yield to a question?
He will yield, Representative Franzen.
Representative Pfarr, I'm looking at line 110 to 112, subdivision 8A, live course, and it describes what a live course is. Live course means any learning experience that is actively led by an instructor, either online or in classroom setting, that offers person-to-person real-time feedback. What would the opposite of that live course be?
Representative Pfarr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Contrary to popular belief, it's not a dead course. It would be that on-demand course where there's not an instructor leading that either in person or over a Zoom meeting. That would be the opposite.
Representative Franzen. Any further discussion to the bill? I recognize the author of the bill, the member from LeSueur, Representative
Thank you,
Pfarr.
Mr. Speaker. I look forward to all your green votes. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. Members who are voting remotely, please vote. Will the clerk please call the names of members who have not yet voted?
Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Davney. Davney. Gomez.
Gomez, aye.
Gomez, aye. Gruenhagen. Gruenhagen. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Cagle.
Fago, aye.
Cagle, aye. Mariani.
Mariani, aye.
Mariani, aye. Markwart. Markwart. Noor. Noor. Novotny. Novotny, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye. Zhang Jie.
Zhang aye.
Zhang Jie, aye. Davney. Davney. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Marquardt. Marquardt. Noor.
Noor, aye.
Noor, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3955. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3955, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to private detectives.
I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Ramsey, Representative Mariani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Good evening. The Private Detective Board is a very small board that actually ought to get a lot more attention in our state. They're the board that regulates private public safety, security services in our state. In our omnibus bill right now, in our public safety omnibus bill, we have a request from them to add staff to their regulatory functions. It's a very small shop with 2 people and maybe 2 investigators that are attempting to provide good quality oversight over this industry that is growing immensely as there's more of a turn to the use of private security services. Many folks, actually all these folks are good professionals that we regulate in our state. However, we do so pretty much indirectly. We regulate the employers that they work for. And regulate really just means that we look to ensure that they're conducting their businesses as good, sound businesses, and that they're making sure that their employees are certified to abide by good policing, presence and practice in our state as private delivers of that service. Current legislation requires the training of any new hire by these private agencies within their first 21 days of employment and prior to starting any security or investigative work. There's no indication of the time duration when pre-assignment training currently lapses in this certification. There's no requirement for employers to provide completion certificates of those employees who complete this requirement. The issue really goes to the peculiarities of this regulated industry, where it's not certain that once an individual has properly earned that certificate, that certificate can carry with them as they move from one employer to the other. And so what this would do is it recognizes that the pre-assignment training is important and must be conducted within the last 3 years for anyone currently providing the services, and that certificate is portable. So that individual would be able to move from one employer to the other with a certificate that demonstrates that they've earned the right to do this work and do it within state expectations and standards. It costs anywhere between $300 and $400 for that training. If these certificates aren't portable, then those individuals would need to pay that amount again. So this is a good way then, this bill would then allow for, within 3 years, if they have that certificate, to just have it be portable and would help these professionals, these workers, by not frankly require them to have to come up with another $300 or $400 to continue the work that they've currently been doing just because they moved to another employer. And so it's a good way to help these workers, these providers of these services. It's a good way to stabilize this industry where there is a huge growth that's happening in our state. So members, that's basically the backdrop and what the bill would do in terms of requiring that, allowing for that portability within a certain period of time. I would, this bill is moving in the Senate with Senator Ingebretson, who is a professional public service retired public servant. As far as we know, there's no controversy at all regarding this bill. I would strongly urge your support and would appreciate it. Thank you.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3955.
Third reading. Further discussion to the bill. I recognize the author of the bill, the member from Ramsey, Representative Mariani.
Members, a good bill that can help an important sector that provides for much needed public or rather private safety services in our state. Thank you for your support. I hope we can all vote to support the good professionals that provide these services in our state.
The clerk will take the roll. Will the clerk please call the names of members who have not yet voted?
Ackland. Ackland, aye. Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Gomez.
Gomez, aye.
Gomez, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan. Hassan. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Heinzman. Heinzman, aye. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Markwart. Markwart. Moran. Moran.
Moran, aye.
Moran, aye. Noor.
Noor, aye.
Noor, aye. O'Neill. O'Neill, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye. Zhang Jie.
Zhang Jie, aye.
Zhang Jie, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Markwart. Markwart.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed in its title agreed to. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these items first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. I recognize the member from Hennepin, the Majority Leader, Representative Winkler.
Mr. Speaker, I move a recess to the call of the chair.
Representative Winkler moves the recess to the call of the chair. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no.
No.
The motion prevails and the House stands in recess.
Mr. Speaker,
Representative Winkler.
I've been advised by the Sergeant at Arms and to make a request that all members stay inside the chamber at this time.